Hi there. Today we're going to learn about integers and absolute value. Our objective for today is comparing integers and finding the absolute value of a number. So by the time you leave this video, you should be able to do both of those things. Integers are all of the positive and negative whole numbers. In other words, there are no fractions and there are no decimals that are integers. Opposites are two integers that are the same distance from zero. For example, 3 and negative 3. So if you start at 0 and you count 1, 2, 3 in the positive direction, start at 0, count 1, 2, 3 in the negative direction, they are both the same distance from 0. That makes them opposites. Okay, an observation tower is about 74 feet tall. What integer would you use to express the height of the tower? So if it's 74 feet tall, you would use a positive 74 or just 74 because they're both the same. All right, a scuba diver dove 105 feet below sea level. What integer would you use to express the depth that the scuba diver dove? So since it's below sea level and we're talking about depth, you have to put a negative in front of that. So it's a negative 105. Okay, so if we're talking about how tall something is or even above sea level, then we're talking about positive numbers. If we're talking about below sea level, then we're talking about negative numbers. What integer would you use to represent ground level? Okay, well, think about this. Ground level means that it's neither positive nor negative, so 0 is what you would use to represent ground level, right? All right, the height above an integer would be a positive integer. The depth below would be a negative integer. Okay, so above, positive, below, negative. All right, so in order to graph coordinate points or graph integers or whatever you want to graph on a number line, you have to obviously draw the number line first. Then you draw a dot on the point that represents the integer. In other words, if I'm graphing negative 6, I have a dot right here on negative 6. If I'm graphing negative 2, I have a dot on negative 2. If I'm graphing 3, then I have a dot on 3. The dot is actually called a coordinate, which is the number that corresponds to the point on the line. All right, so if I were to graph negative 3, 0, and 5, I would put my points negative 3, 0, and 5. One of the biggest mistakes that students make when they graph on the number line is they put the dots, they put the coordinates, I should say, on top like that. So that's not what we want. We want to actually put it on top of on the actual number line itself, okay? So we have negative 3, 0, and 5. Why don't you try graphing negative 4, negative 1, and 1. So pause the video and try doing that on your own. Okay, well, once you're done graphing, this is what you should have come up with. Negative 4, negative 1, and then 1. All right, so now it asks us to order the integers negative 4, 0, 5, negative 2, 3, and negative 3 from least to greatest. You may use a number line for reference. So here I already graphed all the points, negative 4, 0, 5, negative 2, 3, and negative 3. All right, so in order to see what the integers are from least to greatest, you just look from left to right. Negative 4, 3, 2, 0, 3, 5. Negative 4, 3, negative 2, 0, 3, and 5. All right, so now it's your turn. Why don't you try, or actually here, I have another question. Order the integers 4, negative 2, negative 5, 0, 2, negative 1 from least to greatest. I already graphed them, and then you just move from least to greatest. So the first one would be negative 2, negative 1, 0, 2, and 4. Those are my integers from least to greatest. Why don't you guys now try graphing these integers and then see what they are from least to greatest. So pause the video and then see what you can do on your own. All right, well, I already graphed the integers, so now we're going to order them. So I have 3, 4, -2, -5, 1, -7. So from left to right on the number line, -7 comes first, then -5, then -2, then 1, then 3, and then 4. Simple enough. All right, an inequality compares numbers of quantities. This sign means greater than. This symbol means less than. So when two numbers are graphed on a number line, the number to the left is always smaller than the number on the right. In other words, these numbers are always smaller than these numbers. All right, so remember when the value gets smaller as you go, remember the value gets smaller as you move to the left, even though the numbers may be getting bigger. So if you look here, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The numbers actually appear to be getting bigger, but they're not because they are actually negative numbers. All right, so let's talk about inequalities here, comparing numbers. 1 and 4, well, we know that 1 is less than 4. If we wanted to actually look that up, we could just graph it. So if I have 1 and 4, 1 and 4, there, I already graphed them. 1 is more to the left than 4 is, so 1 is less than 4. So also, I have 1 and -2. Okay, 1 is to the right of -2, so 1 is greater than. All right, if I were to graph -4 and -1, okay, well, -1 is to the right of -4. -4 is to the left of -1. So that would mean -4 is less than -1. And then if I were to graph -6 and -8, well, actually -8 would probably be somewhere over here. -6 is actually greater than -8 because it's to the right. All right, the absolute value of a number is a distance from 0. So the number of spaces it is away from 0. The absolute value of 5 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces away from 0. The absolute value of -5 would be, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces away from 0. So that's what these two bars mean. These two bars mean absolute value. And distance can never be negative, okay? Distance is always positive. All right, so ask yourself, how far is a number from 0? -4, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 4 spaces away from 0. 3, okay. 1, 2, 3. That is 3 spaces away from 0. How many spaces away from 0 is -9? If you were to start at 0 and then count to the left, you would see that it's 9 spaces. And then 8 minus 3. Okay, so start off with 8 minus 3 first, which you should get 5. And the absolute value of 5 is just 5. Okay, now you try. Ask yourself, how far is a number from 0? So we have 12 divided by 4 in these absolute value bars. 12 divided by 4 is 3, and the absolute value of 3 is just 3. Now we have 3 times 5. Okay, 3 times 5 is 15. The absolute value of 15 is just 15. And now we have -9 minus 1 plus 5. Note the absolute value. Okay, well, here you have 9, right, minus the absolute value of 1 plus 5, which is just 6. So 9 minus 6 gets you 3. Okay, and here you have 8 minus 3, which is 5. The absolute value of 5 is just 5, plus 20 minus 20 is 0. So you end up getting 5. All right, so now here the graph shows a scuba diver. He's at -18, but the absolute value would just be 18. Try to do the rest on your own. That's all for today.